All right, I'm going to let you in a little secret. I am not a great fisherman. I have never been a great fisherman. If it was a choice between the survival of myself and my family and my capacity to go out to the ocean today and to catch fish to sustain them, I tell you in all honesty, I would wither away and starve, and so would my family and kids. Now, just because I am not great does not mean that I have not occasionally brushed up against and been adjacent to greatness. I have but within my life one truly epic story of fishing. Now, it's true that I have attempted to fish. I have gone out with my grandfather and spent hours piddling around in a boat having caught nothing. But one time did I catch that fish. You see, when I was 11 years old, I had the opportunity to travel with my dad from our home in Phoenix on a trip to Southern California, where you might be now. And while on that trip to Southern California, my dad took me on an epic quest. And that epic quest involved taking a boat from the San Pedro Harbor out towards Catalina and back to participate in what was billed as an extravaganza of deep sea fishing. That we would somehow, in the 26-mile gap between that island and our shore, catch some tremendous fish. And so my 11-year-old self and my dad, we went, pole in hand, bait ready to go, and we were ready. I stood in the bow of that boat, letting the waves of the Pacific Ocean splash upon my face as we pulled out of the harbor and we started to hit a little bit of the rough of the open water. And as we bounced up and down and up and down over those waves, as we made it out to the deep water to fish, I was suddenly very aware of the fact that having spent most of my young life in both Phoenix and Las Vegas, my legs were meant for flat land, hills at best, and the up and the down and the up and the down meant that I was turning ever a deeper shade of green. And I had to lie down for a bit. Fast forward a few minutes' time, after a little bit of a nap to take just a little bit of the edge off, and I was ready to fish, and I cast my line and caught nothing, and I casted my line and caught nothing, and I cast it again and again into the promised deep waters of the Pacific Blue and caught no fish. And my dad gave up. He said, "I've had enough. The waves are too high and the fish don't bite." And so he went in and he laid down in the cabin to take a nap. And as he was napping, I was determined. And so from the second floor of that fishing boat, I cast my line in and continued to pull it back in, praying that God was going to deliver me a fish. And it happened. I caught a fish that to this day I cannot identify. It was about yay long, but at 11 it felt about yay long. And I had it on the end of my line and I was so ecstatic. My dad had to see that I had accomplished the one thing that we had set out to do, and that was to catch a fish. And so I propped my pole in the available holder and I went inside to grab my dad. And as I dragged him from his deep slumber out to see my tremendous catch, it was then and only then that I saw two gulls, one with the tail of my fish, one with the head of my fish, pull ferociously, ripping that fish in two and flying away with my catch in tow. And I'd lost it. And my dad, bleary-eyed, looked out, saw the empty line, and called me a liar. To this day, I promise you, I'm not a great fisherman, but I have brushed up against greatness. I have been adjacent to the promised land. I have seen the fish on the end of my line. I just couldn't get it all the way in the boat.